Welcome to the Dairy News and Views podcast, a production of the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach Dairy Team. Our podcast covers current educational, research, and industry tools available for your operation to manage healthy cows and calves while producing the highest quality dairy products.
Thanks for joining us today on Dairy News and Views from the ISU Dairy Team. I'm Fred Hall, Northwest Iowa Dairy Field Specialist, and I'm here with Jen Bentley, the Northeast Iowa Dairy Field Specialist, as we visit with the new Western Iowa Dairy Alliance Coordinator. Welcome back to the podcast, Jen.
Well, thanks, Fred, and I'm very excited to have our guest on here today, Iowa native and dairy farm out in Northwest Iowa. So looking forward to hearing more about Meghan.
Today, we are joined by the new Western Iowa Dairy Alliance Coordinator, Meghan Hettinga. Many of you will recognize her as the 67th Iowa Dairy Princess. She's from Orange City, Iowa, and is the daughter of Jason and Mary Hettinga. The family milks 120 jerseys, and Meghan is a student at South Dakota State University, where she's majoring in dairy production. Meghan, welcome to the ISU Dairy Team podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Thanks for being on, Meghan. And by Fred's introduction, it sounds like you have a lot going on right now with school and taking up this new position. So why don't you first tell us a little bit about yourself?
Like Fred said, I'm currently a senior at South Dakota State University. I'm finishing my major in dairy production, and I also have a minor in communications. And so also, like Fred said, I grew up right by Orange City, Iowa. My family and I milk about 120 jerseys. And so my parents started our farm in 2001. And so I've been able to be a part of it my entire life. And I have cherished every single memory that growing up on a dairy farm entails, whether that's, the early mornings milking cows or building fence with my siblings in the summer, or I wouldn't change the way I grew up for anything. And so that really has kind of built my passion for the dairy industry. Also, in Fred's introduction, you mentioned I was the Iowa Dairy Princess, and I am finishing, my reign. And just this next week, the new Iowa Dairy Princess is going to be taking over on September 1. But I have absolutely loved that opportunity to represent Iowa dairy farmers across the state and getting to learn more about the Iowa dairy industry. Because I guess that's something I didn't realize growing up in Northwest Iowa, that the Iowa dairy industry is so varied. It's very different on both sides of the state. And I've loved getting to meet people from all over Iowa and just have the opportunity to share the Iowa dairy story with consumers.
Meghan, you're a senior. Obviously, that means you're looking down the road. What are your career plans? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, the $1 million question right now as a senior in college. Well, I definitely, through being Iowa Dairy Princess and just other jobs I've had, and growing up on a dairy farm, I have an immense passion for the dairy industry, and I just love sharing that with people. But also through my experience as Iowa Dairy Princess, I found I love connecting farmers with each other and helping either with professional development or just sharing research with them. And so honestly, I think my dream job would kind of be one of your guys' jobs as an extension agent, and just sharing information that's going to help farmers, but also helping and sharing information that's going to help consumers. I kind of also like to be that liaison between dairy farmers and consumers, but I definitely have a passion for sharing, that research and just helping farmers to make themselves and their farms better.
Just so you're aware that even at my age, I wake up some mornings and wonder what I want to be when I grow up.
Okay.
So that question may never change. Meghan, tell us a little bit about the mission of Western Iowa Dairy Alliance, or as most of us call it, WIDA.
Yeah, so the Western Iowa Dairy Alliance, our mission statement is to be a unified voice for the Western Iowa dairy producers to support farm families, engage with consumers, advocate for this essential industry, and build the next generation of leaders. And we do that through a wide variety of things, whether that's hosting open houses to just get the public out on dairy farms and see what a dairy farm is all about and how their food is produced, or going to schools or libraries or any other kind of just event to connect with like little kids and just share all the information we have with them. And I think that's so important because sometimes being in, rural Midwest, Northwest Iowa, we forget that some people don't necessarily know where their food comes from. And so giving them the opportunity to learn is so important. And so that's something that WIDA strives to do. And then, as I said, we try to support farm families and advocate for the essential industry. And so we connect with the Iowa State Dairy Association and Midwest Dairy to work on different advocacy things in like Washington, D.C. and Des Moines, just trying to make sure that dairy farmers have the legislation to back them up and to help them, I guess, produce their product and give them the best opportunity to, do their job every day.
So Megan, we have similar activities out in Northeast Iowa, so it's always interesting to hear what Northwest is up to. And, you're talking about some of those programs with youth, and in Northeast Iowa, we have the Iowa Dairy Story. So the kids come to this day-long program at Iowa's Dairy Center. They learn about being on a dairy farm, learning about dairy products and the benefits to them. And it's just always really interesting how even in Northeast Iowa, you ask the kids, how many of you are living on a dairy farm? And it seems like we're getting fewer and fewer kids living on a dairy farm, but maybe their grandpa has a dairy farm or grandma has a dairy farm. So I think, our kids are getting, even in rural areas, our kids are getting further removed from, actually being on a dairy farm. So these activities are just great to still get that message out there. And what activities do you have coming up through WIDA that you have planned here in the next few months?
Yeah. So I guess just kind of something that we have been doing annually has been our open house. And so I think that's such a great opportunity for the community to get out on farms. And we have such a variety of farms in Northwest Iowa. And so I think it gives them a really cool opportunity to see how diverse the dairy industry is. And so this past summer, we were out at a brand new dairy, Perry Creek Dairy by Merrill, Iowa. And we were able to host a lot of people. I guess I'm not even sure the final number. I know it was in the thousands, and we were able to give them a meal and just let them come and see this brand new state-of-the-art dairy that's using new technologies and just is at the top of its class. And so it's just really cool to kind of move around Northwest Iowa and have those open houses every year so people can see all the different types of dairy farms. But some of the other things we have planned are the Clay County Fair is going to be coming up here in the beginning of September. And so we will be hosting or helping to run a dairy day out in Spencer. And so on September 17th, that's a Friday, we are going to be running a booth that's kind of going to have quite a few different things going on. We're going to be talking about nutrition for cows. And so we'll be having like a TMR mixer station, talking about just what goes into a cow's ration. I think that's always interesting for kids to see because oftentimes they're like, oh, cows just eat grass, but that's not the case. And cows have such a specific nutrition palette, I guess. Nutrition needs are met with a nutritionist. And so their food is so specific. And so it's really cool to see kids kind of just learn about that. But then on the other side of nutrition, we're going to be talking about just the nutrition qualities of milk and how it benefits our bodies. And so I'm really excited for that event. I think it's going to be cool. And I think the Clay County Fair is going to be just really busy because people are just loving to get back out and enjoy, those county fairs and just being out and around people. And so I think that's going to be really exciting in the next couple of weeks. I think, we're working already on planning our next open house for next summer. So that's tentatively scheduled it's going to be in June sometime, but we're kind of nailing down some farm we want to work with and the dates and all the details. And so that's going to be really exciting. And I guess one other thing that we're kind of working on planning a little closer in the future is our annual membership meeting. That will be in January. We're planning on a couple speakers to come in and just talk about the dairy industry in Northwest Iowa. And so hopefully it'll be a great opportunity for the WIDA members to just learn what WIDA is doing, and then also just learn about what their peers are doing in the area.
Sounds like you're going to be busy after graduation, Megan. Before our podcast, we were talking about another activity through WIDA, the dairy product donation program. And I guess I don't know much about that. So could you go into a little bit more detail?
One of the cool things that WIDA does is we offer dairy product donations to honestly any organization that wants to serve dairy products to at an event. And so it can be anything like an after school program or a 5K race, or like I said, anything. So the possibilities are endless. I've already responded to a couple different, requests for dairy products. And so you can, they can be any kind of dairy product. So whether that's chocolate milk or ice cream sandwiches or cheese sticks or anything like that, you just have to go online to our website and fill out the dairy product donation request form. And then we'll contact you, and we'll try and fill that request however it works out. So I think it's a cool opportunity to just get dairy into people's diets and give them a nutritious snack for whatever event is going on.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. I paid in some 5Ks, and I've noticed recently a lot of those 5Ks are offering chocolate milk. And I just think that's so cool to see that, we're getting that as our post-run drink. So that's very cool for that.
Yeah, no, that's, I ran in a 5K in Orange City in May, and WIDA was one of the sponsors. And so it's kind of cool to be on the other side of it now and I guess provide that nutritious snack after running.
One of the things you'll be doing, and maybe not all the listeners know, but you'll be recruiting membership from producers. This is a producer-driven organization. Can you share a little bit for producers out there who aren't members, what you're going to tell them when you show up at the farm, say you need to support WIDA?
Yeah, I think it's important for producers to understand that we are working for them, and we're trying to, especially like in the advocacy department and like with legislation, we're trying to represent them and help them make their jobs, I guess, as easy as possible. So to have legislation that supports them. And so we're going to try and be their voice, or the dairy industry's voice, in those arenas, whether that's Des Moines or Washington, D.C., and just talking to those people that are going to make those decisions for us. And so just having them understand that we are completely in support of them, and we want what's best for the dairy industry. And then also just we offer an opportunity for dairy producers to connect and learn from each other. And I think that's something that we're going to really work or push for going forward, is giving dairy producers an opportunity to network and learn from each other, whether that's someone's putting up a new style of barn or just opening a new dairy, just kind of offering the general public an opportunity to come out and learn, but also just dairy farmers to see, okay, you made your barn like this, and why did you do that? And maybe how can I implement something similar on my farm, or how can I implement a similar like schematic on my operation, or even just like, oh, you implemented robots, or how did you go about doing that? And just kind of offering an opportunity for dairy producers to kind of learn from each other, I think is another great thing that WIDA does.
Megan, you shared lots of information about WIDA and what it does for Northwest Iowa dairymen. Any last thoughts you want to share with our listeners?
I guess, just that I'm really excited to be in this position and to, learn more all about, the parts of the Northwest Iowa dairy industry that I maybe don't know as much, and to meet new people. I'm excited to do that and just, continue to be the voice and to represent the Northwest Iowa dairy industry.
We're excited. I know many of listeners will know that our two offices are just about 10 steps from each other here in Orange City.
Yes, I'll have to, when I get to the office, I'm gonna have to make sure I stop by.
Megan, where can we find more information about WIDA? I think you guys have a social media page, right? And a website?
Yes, we do. We have social media on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Western Iowa Dairy Alliance. And then you can also find us online. Our website is wiadairy.com. So yeah, check us out. You can see information about membership, and just maybe if you're more interested in what we're about and our mission, you can check information about that. And there's also different dairy industry links and dairy news and events that are going on. So yeah, there's a lot of information on our website.
I'd like to thank you, Megan, for being with us. And Jan, as always, appreciate the help with the podcast, and thank the listeners for joining us today, and look forward to visiting with you on the next Dairy News and Views from ISU.
This institution is an equal opportunity provider. For the full non-discrimination statement or combination inquiries, go to www.extension.iastate.edu/diversity/ext.